2 o'clock on, what day is this? It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, I feel fairly certain. And the date is October the 7th. So, how are you? Good to see you. A little cloudy today. I'm Pastor Lou Kilgore. I have been serving here in this capacity with a pastor's chat now for months and months. In the aftermath of the news of a virus spreading around the world, we decided to open up some portals, some new portals of communication and sharing of strength. The community of the church works by sharing our stories. And this isn't a two-way sharing, except for what you do on your end. But you're welcome here, whether you're a member of this community or not. You can come for one time, and you're welcome to come and visit live or at another time. You can also go onto YouTube and go back as a treasure trove of gems. Every chat I've done since the beginning is saved there. And this is another one, another edition. So I want to read from my devotional today, if you'll allow me, and then just talk a little bit about it. In the devotion, it's a quote from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, and Shakespeare is describing a woman who has feelings inside of her. She has something going on, but she doesn't want anybody to know. So, in this case, her feeling is love. It's love for someone. She never told her love, but let concealment, like a worm in the bud, feed her damask cheek. She pinned in thought. And with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. Listen to what the writer, Mrs. Martha Hickman, I've come to really, really adore her thoughts and her guidance. I began to read this after my mom died in the spring, and we had the blockage of not being able to go to her. There was no funeral, there was no church service, there was nothing of the strength of resources that I live on applied, so I still feel like I'm thirsty in the desert for something to help. This has been great. It's a little book called Healing After Loss, Daily Meditations for Working Through Grief by Martha W. Hickman. The picture here from Twelfth Night is of a woman who assumed a mask of calm and tranquility, while inside, and now there's quotes from Shakespeare, like a worm in the bud, the feelings were eating away. She smiled through her grief and was likened to a stone. Here's the gem I was heading for. Let it be a lesson to us, holding tight to our feelings, trying to keep stiff upper lip. Oh, there's a word for Presbyterians and for Scots. Trying to keep, in English, the Brits, trying to keep a stiff upper lip may present a soothing image to the world, but at what cost? The cost of growing numb? And for whose protection? Our own, that we may not be considered too emotional? That we be regarded as pillars of stability and faith? For the protection of others, so that they don't have to see how sad losing a loved one can make you feel? They know better, and so do we. And our closeness is enhanced by sharing our grief and our inner feelings, much more so than by misguided attempts to keep it all under control. So, here's what's on my mind today. If you've been following me in this journey and listening, I mean, we talk, we do forays into theological issues, which I love. We talk about consequences of really, really conflicted ideas in faith. We try to take a hold of them and work them through. But I've also been working around the edges of this pandemic, its meaning, purpose, and really trying to cope with some feelings inside that I don't always like to let you see. If I feel very worried and panicked, I was extremely worried in the time when my mom was diagnosed with COVID. This was before the pastors' chats began. But today, I'm faced with a similar kind of dilemma. What is my role? Because, here's the news, over the weekend, this past weekend, I learned that I have been exposed to a person who has COVID-19. And the exposure it was exposure. I've been exposed to the virus. Now, that's new to me. I mean, that's shocking to me because if you know me, you know I've been working very, very hard to keep that from happening. And I'm not happy about it. I'm really not happy about it. And I'm not upset with the person at all from whom I learned through contact tracing I was exposed to, but I'm upset that my effort to put up a wall of protection around myself and my wife's efforts to keep that from happening didn't work. Now, we don't know yet whether we are infected. That news is not there. We did go and get a test. We've been tested. We had to get tested to go on vacation because we were traveling out of the area. And I had to get a test last week for my medical exam. And so this is the third COVID test I've had. And it's the first one I've had responding to knowledge that I've been exposed. It's part of contact tracing. So, again, I'm repeating, I'm not infected as far as I know, even though I'm coughing right now. If you've watched these before, you know I have issues with my throat during the heating season, and so it's not symptoms. So I'm asymptomatic if I'm infected, and I will find out Friday whether my COVID test comes back positive. But the upshot of it is that I am now self-quarantined. And I'm radically self-quarantined. I am in the church building today, but I'm only traveling in just this front corner. I was able to enter through an outside door in order to protect the other employees of the church. I will not be in any part of the church at all, except for this particular area. I'm wearing a mask all the time now in my home because my wife and I don't know. It's possible that one of us is affected and the other one isn't. So we're going to try to protect each other and self-quarantine in the house as well. I will be out of involvement in the school for 2 weeks. And because the news came on the weekend is good, which means that the exposure happened on the weekend and I have not exposed the school at all. So, here I am. I don't know how I feel about it. I do know that there's a point at which I just keep praying very very much for myself and my family. Just please, Lord, protect us. I don't want this virus. I don't want to be responsible for anyone else getting this virus. Yesterday I did a whole thing on how much I liked adventure. Well, this isn't adventure, not from my point of view. So, I know, look, I have a tendency to worry, and so do you. So I could have done the Shakespeare thing and just kept it all inside and not shared any of it with you because I don't want to worry you, and you don't need to worry. I'm not sick, and I will update you if I find out that I am infected. And in the meantime, I will be out of circulation. I thought about, so in the in the devotions, it talked about people who, let's see, where was it? It talked about people who decide to hold their feelings tight and keep a stiff upper lip and present a soothing image to the world. So I thought about just stopping the pastor chats, because I don't need to tell you all about what's going on. This is how it goes in my head. I don't need to tell you all about that. I mean, come on. That's the stiff upper lip part that people have to get over when they come to talk to a pastor. I've often said to people who come in to sit down and talk that I'm aware of the courage it takes just to walk through the door of my office. And not because of me, but because of my office, because of what it means. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of stepping out, a lot of self-disclosure with nothing said. I don't think I'm worried. I have a confidence. This is what I think is going to happen. I think that I'm going to get the test results back on Friday or Saturday morning, and I'm going to be negative. And then I'll continue my isolation, figure out how to do the broadcast for church somewhat remotely. I'm not sure how yet. But we'll do something that continues to protect the staff here and my wife and my family and in the church building. And then I'll get tested again next week. And what I think is going to happen is, and I'm being very honest about this, I think what's going to happen is they're both going to be negative. And then whatever buried anxiety I have about it will come rushing out in a joyful celebration of having dodged a bullet. I mean, this is the way it goes, right? It's everybody's polite, everybody's experience in this. Getting tested positive. I know several other people that have been tested positive and they don't get sick. So I'm holding on to that. I'm holding on to those pieces of this story. And I'm also sharing it with you. So please don't become fix-it people for me. I'm just doing it because the pastor's trying to practice what he preaches. And I'll be able to identify with you even more when you get the courage to talk about some stuff that you wish you could justify just saying, don't worry about it. I'm not going to talk about it. Which only makes the pastor's chat is still a conundrum. It's a curious thing for me because the pastor's chat is supposed to be, I think, the pastor, you come in and you chat with the pastor. This is not that. And so you get to sit in the seat of watching me chat, listening to me chat. Everything that I heard is a little late today. Everything that I talk about or I've been thinking about before I turn the live stream on isn't about you. It's not. It's about me. I know that, but I do operate under the presumption I've talked about before, that what I'm thinking, feeling, and mining about my life is valuable to you because we are human. We are human. And even though there are vast differences between us, there's also vast oneness between us in our human experience on this globe. And I hope you find these explorations valuable. I do. Sometimes they're harder than others. Sometimes I fight with, let me go look up something that's just unrelated, and I'll read a passage of scripture and we'll talk about something that isn't really all that personal, and I'll use my ability to talk about it in a personal way. But I don't really want that distance, and neither do you. So, are we trying to protect ourselves, that we not be considered too emotional? Well, in some ways that ship's already sailed for me. That we be regarded as pillars of stability and faith, that, yeah, guilty. For the protection of others, so they don't have to see how sad it can be or how frightening life can be, or how life can make you feel. Yeah, that's the one that gets me in trouble, because I want what I do to be relevant, and the only way I can go to get relevance is to unearth what's going on with me. You, this text says, you know better, and so do I. It doesn't work. Our closeness, our oneness, our sense of belonging to the human race and to each other is enhanced when we share these things. At least much more so than by the misguided attempt to keep it all under control. Here's my closing thought for today. I will not take on a facade of false calm. I will not take on a facade of false calm, and thereby turn to stone. Lord, help us during difficult times. Some, as you know, God, are facing unemployment, loss of jobs, and living through long periods of time where there is no job. I know so many young people, young meaning post-college, who had jobs and they lost their jobs, and they moved back home with family, and so much of their unfolding of their lives just collapsed. So there's some difficult stuff. There's difficult stuff. This virus, I know right now, as a pastor, I know of 5 people who are living through this period of, they've been diagnosed, some of them are sick, and they don't want to get sicker, but they also don't want to wilt. They don't want to be seen as like having no faith and all the rest of that. Oh my gosh, it's complicated, Lord. Help us to trust and lean forward, and to take each day as it comes and be glad for what doesn't happen to us, and then to surrender to that which does. That's my prayer. My prayer is that during these difficult times, you do not become stone and I do not become stone. Let us remain warm flesh, caring, praying, hoping, believing for the things that are good in life, with God with us all along the way. That's my prayer for you today. Pray for me. Pray Pray for all those people that are sitting in the shadow of this disease, and then waiting for word of whether they have it, and then waiting for the paperwork on how intense it's going to be for them. God bless you in your praying for others, and God bless you in your believing and in your walk of faith with God today. Thank you, my friends. I will be here tomorrow. I'll step out of my quarantine isolation, and I will come, and I will talk with you. See you then. God bless you.